The Kakagon Sloughs to me is a sanctuary. It's a place where all the magic happens.
And every time I go down there, it just makes me feel good, like it's medicine for me.
It's an Everglade that really isn't like any other place in the world. This whole earth, we have this special area, and I had that as a little girl. This was my playground.
The sloughs are our identity and our livelihood, and so I really appreciate them and, give thanks to what the sloughs are able to offer us.
The sunrises on there are just awesome. Just getting down there at 5:30 in the morning and just seeing the beauty of it, just see the place just light up, and it's so great, so great.
It's where the birds are, the muskrats are, the beavers are, the cranes are, the eagles are, but it's their habitat. They welcome us in there to gather the rice, which has a very important meaning to us as a Anishinaabe.
Wewe na buju ni gani gabo ikoy indigenous cause kay mikizindo dem Mashkiigokaang onjba kay Maday wana koy indaw. My name is Edith Leoso, and I'm a Bad River tribal member. From a tribal perspective, I think of the Kakagon Sloughs as this place that rekindles a memory, a blood memory of why we're even here. For other people, it's listed as a Ramsar site, or it's listed as a national natural landmark. Here, I grew up on the Kakagon River, and to me is just home.
My name is Melvin Maday. When I first went to the sloughs, I was probably 5 years old. How often have I been down there? Probably thousands of times. During racing season, we used to go every day for like 3 weeks. And we'd race for 6, 7, 8 hours a day. But in the fall of the year, after the racing was done, we still kept going down there because we're duck hunters. Start off headed down the sloughs. You go down the Kakagon River and you'll come into what they call Round River. So Round River is basically what it sounds like. There's Big Round and Little Round, where it circles around off the main channel, and there's more rice there rather than just going on the channel. From there, you could go off on a branch on another part of the river, go up to Wood Creek, and there's a lot of cabins up there, so that river, from being a 10-foot wide channel, is now 30 feet wide. From there, you go out, head toward the lake, and you go out by Snake Island. The Snake Island is really, really good. A lot of growth of rice there, and it's almost always good. From there, you go out to the mouth of the river. But then if you go over to the north side, up the Northeast Slough, you could go back and race your way all the way down to Big Slough. I think when you're down there racing and it's hot and you're tired and you're sweaty and there's bugs on you and worms crawling around, but it really just feels like this is where I should be. And I think that's the best memory that a person could have.
We brought that ricing practice with us from the east, and we also brought the maple sugaring practice with us from the east. The 7 prophecies came at a time when, like everything else, came when we needed something. The first prophecy, that there would be a light-skinned race that would come across the Great Salt Water, meaning the Atlantic Ocean. And in that coming, our way of life would be challenged, and that if we didn't move to the west, we would be destroyed, essentially. In that journey, we would have 7 places that we would be stopping at. Some people stopped at the first place and stayed there. In the second stopping place, their descendants still live there. In the third, in the fourth, in the fifth, in the sixth. And they said on each stopping place that we would come to, they would tell us, when it was time to go again. Something would come where we would know we would have to continue moving westward. We would know the seventh and final stopping place. We would know it when we found the place where food grows on top of the water. And we knew what that food was already because the food is still in Maine. In Maine, the Micmacs still have rice lakes there, and they still do ricing. And so when we came into the Kakagon Sloughs, we saw the rice, and we knew from the size of what it was, it was this huge area with nothing but wild rice, that we had reached our destination.
Bonjour, my name is Maria Navla. I am a member from Bad River. My native name is One Standing Woman, Bejek Nanani Nikwe. I can sit here all day and just try to describe what Bad River rice is, but you fully won't understand until you taste it. And that is one of those great uncles and grandma saying is that's the magic of the Bad River Sloughs. You just have to experience it and you just have to eat it and taste it to understand the difference between Bad River and all the others.
Junior Wagos Ninijinakaz, Mashkiigokaang and Dunjba, Nagigni Dodame. In English, known as Ben Connors, Sr., and proud Bad River member. I began racing here in Bad River when I was 11 years old with my dad, Frank Bootsy Connors. Learned old school. It was hard work. It was all day. Fondest memories are just that, in and of itself, just being out there. I don't have a single one I can put a finger on. Like I said, I wouldn't trade that time, and all of it I look back on fondly. My dad was a real bad diabetic in a time when we didn't know enough about diabetes, and I was with him at the doctor appointment when they told him he'd never walk again. 1 year later, he walked into that doctor's office, and he was so proud to walk in there. For a couple of years after that, he couldn't learn his balance on the water, but he didn't want to stop. He kept racing because that's who we are. And my brother had to take him in a john boat, push him through the rice. Anybody who pulls knows it's hard in a canoe. I applaud my brother for pushing him around in that.
Bonjour, my name is Gary Big Boy. My spirit name is Maday Benishiini, or Black Thunderbird Man. My dad never trusted us in a canoe. Never. So I had to push that big old boat through the rice, and he had knocked it in there. And so it just went on for a couple of years. So one year my dad said, I think it's time we try a canoe. So Squeak went, all right, let's go. We're ready for it. So got ready, got our stuff in the boat. Squeak sat back there. I pushed us out. I stood up in not even 2 seconds. Tipped the boat over. So that's probably one of the fondest memories I have. That was our first, not our first time racing, our first time in a canoe race.
It wasn't just we're going out and getting rice. It was the whole big circle of going out there, the family unit, the laughing, the joking, the preparing, the little jokes that we played on each other, the little pranks that we played on each other, and then the actual getting of the rice. But when you're out in that field and you can hear the laughter of other family members and other community members that were out there, you could hear that, or you would hear the pole hitting against the canoe, that dunk, and every now and then you heard a splash and you heard some curse words and you knew someone fell in, or even just the flock of the rice birds, just and just this great big huge flock. And I would, if I was knocking, I would stop and I would just look at those birds fly by. I mean, those are some of the memories that no one can ever recreate unless you're out there in those sloughs.
My son and I were out racing a big slough, and two of my sisters were out. And all of a sudden we hear a squeal in the Where are they? And so we pulled over to where the noise came from, and there they were. And looked around and said, "Where's your canoe?" They were standing in their canoe on the bottom. They were afraid of, I don't know, bloodsuckers, frogs or whatever, snakes or whatever's down there. So, yeah, that took about a half a day to get them on the water. Had to find the boat first.
My grandmother said never ever make drumming sounds down in the sloughs, especially by Snake Island. She was told by her mom and her grandma and grandpa that a long time ago there used to be this big snake down there, and it lived on that island. And she said, that snake is no longer there. She said, but when you make that drumming sound, that vibration goes into the water, to the river bottom. You said it wakes that snake, big snake spirit up. She said, and that's not good. He said, that's not good. And she was scaring me. I don't like snakes. And she goes, so told me this week, never ever take your sticks, rice sticks, and drum on your boat. Never. We just seen so many things that just, I don't know if people will believe it to that, but we witnessed it. And we'd tell my grandma, like one day we were just paddling, it was just getting dark. We could hear another boat coming behind us. So we kind of pulled over, and this boat went right by us. There was no boat. But you could see the waves going by us. And you could hear the paddles hitting the water like that. And we told Grandma about that. And she goes, which way were they going? And I said, they were going toward the lake. She said, that's spirits going back home, back to their camp. I said, oh, I said, that kind of scared us, Grandma. She goes, did anything happen? She says, no, nothing happened. She goes, well, then she said, here, take this tobacco. We'll put it in the water and say a prayer that you made it home safe.
Wabe Indigenous cause. Mashkiigokaang. My name is Daniel Wiggins. I'm a Bad River tribal member. I remember being a kid and thinking we were poor because we had to eat wild rice and fish and deer meat a lot. And I'm like, man, we must be struggling. Like, man, where's my mom? Man, this is like the second time we had wild rice this week. This is the second time we had fish this week. This is the second time we had deer meat this week. So when I used to grow up, I always used to think we were really poor. We probably were. My mom was here. She'd be like, yeah, we were poor, and that is why you actually ate wild rice. But, you know, as you get older, you realize, and I think Bad River people specifically realize how spoiled we are. You know, the ability to eat wild rice twice a week, the ability to eat fish twice a week, deer meat twice a week and stuff, it's not a hardship. It's a blessing. You realize how rich you are, you know, like as far as community and what's available to your community. Again, whether it's fish, wild rice, berries, you know, all these other resources that Bad River is exposed to. Well, Bad River is in a very good position to spoil themselves and spoil their families with a lot of this food.
You know, one thing I love when you're in the rice field is camaraderie, right? Every time you see another boat, you know, you stop and you talk, right? And you laugh and you joke and you tease and you know, you try to make them look up so they tip over, right? And I love that. So that's one thing I hope never goes away, right? That's part of being Native, right? Is your sense of humor and your sense of family and community.
Bonjour, Kakagon Sloughs, Moka'aangiizisiban, Mashkiigokaang, My name is Gloria Wiggins. Before you go harvest wild rice, we always offer our sema, our tobacco, and we ask that we have a good harvest, protect ourselves on the boat, and we give thanks. I've always been told that if you take care of the wild rice will take care of you. So when I offer my sema, I say some words in Anishinaabe to let the money know that we are coming to take the wild rice and that we are very thankful that is there for us to harvest.
There's nothing really complicated about racing. It just, you need a poler with a pole and a guy with racing sticks. And it can be fun work, if you want to call it that.
Dibaajimowinan, Mashkiigokaang, Jaba, Nagigin. I said my name is Ben Connors Jr. I'm from Bad River and my clan is Otter. So there's a knocker and a poler, and one stands on the opposite end of the canoe from the other. And pretty important tip that I found out is to never look up because you get vertigo and you get kind of dizzy and start swaying. So when you're knocking, you want to try to find your rhythm with the sticks. However way that is, I learned to bend the stalks over and hit it twice, go to the next, and just keep your rhythm going the whole time. When you're a poler, I definitely say to not let it get to the end, because if it gets stuck, you can go right in.
You start off at a young age, in our family anyway, and you're normally called brick girl or brick boy, and you help lay out the tarps in the morning, and you put bricks on the corners, and then you have the rice, and then you got rake girl and rake boy, and you rake out that rice and you get it nice and flat and you dry it out, and that at an early age you're involved, right from the get-go. You're involved with helping process that rice, and throughout the day those kids are turning the rice, picking the rice, getting out leaves, getting out stems, and helping us pick up the rice in tubs for the scorching rooms. We scorch the rice, and from the scorcher it goes to the thrasher, where we're taking and not trying to break the rice, but to get that chaff off. Again, I am very fortunate to have been brought up in a family that processed rice, and we used machines instead of parching over a fire or dancing on it. My great uncles manufactured machines, and so the thrasher was several deer hides that were put over a barrel and dried into that shape so it was round. And then they manufactured paddles that would rotate at a very high RPM to barely just brush the chaff off the rice so that we could process in bigger bulk. And when they went out on those 300-pound days, it was hard to dance 300 pounds of rice, just one uncle or, one canoe. And so when you had several people going out and you had several thousands of pounds, that was hard for them to dance.
I was taught it's a responsibility. I was taught that our ancestors, they hid being Native American in those treaty rights, and it's super important that we continue them, that that we don't stop, that we teach it. I don't want that responsibility to die with me. Really sad to know that, for my kids, their friends, they're definitely in the minority to be carrying that torch. And it scares me a little, right? At the time they were fighting for these rights, it was illegal to be Native American. It wasn't just illegal to go ricing or to pound the drum. It was illegal to be Native American. So they fought for it, as long as the sun shines, the water flows, and the grass grows. That's forever, and that's how long we need to maintain these practices. I'm proud to know that it's going to move on.
I would just hope that more people my age or younger would get into it and be out in the rice fields more, because I don't really see that many people my age out there ever. There are a few, and that's pretty cool, but I wish there would be more.
So one of the main things racing has really taught me is that as a Native American person, it's your duty to keep passing on those traditions that a lot of people, it seems as if this generation has lost. And he's done a great job of trying to keep me on that path of passing these on. And even this year, I'm trying to get some of my friends out once I get my boat running. They've been interested in it, but they've never had anyone really to take them out. They've had the opportunities, they just never had any motivation to do it, and they're interested in doing it with me, so hopefully that works out.
Some of their peers don't have somebody to teach them. That's a sad situation for me. I think it's a part of our culture that's lost. And another reason it's so important to continue. So to hear that they're teenagers and already showing someone else the importance of this is amazing.
I have passed on my harvesting knowledge to my entire family. I have a daughter and a son. My daughter has one child, and he's in his prime right now. And he really, really likes to harvest rice. My son has younger children, but they're not too younger. They're in their teens, and they all harvest rice. Every single one of our family. Well, our granddaughter's too young, but every single member of our family has a will.
My name is Wazawa Anaqued, Indigenous cause Wazawa Anaqued Makwado Dame. We do that every year at the hatchery. We take a youth rice harvesting day. So you take them how to get out there and how to sit in the boat. And because I'm pulling you in the boat, I want you to sit in this boat, but I would take them and I'll tell them I'll rock the boat, and I'll tell them, now you rock the boat. And they rock the boat, and they get the feeling of the canoe. And I'll say, so when you're doing that, I said, that affects me. So you got to learn to sit in the middle of that boat and be balanced and learn how to race like this. So you know what you're doing. If you're going like this, you can tip the boat. If you're not careful, you can tip the boat and you'll go in. And so them are some basic things we talk to them about, and of course even with the practice and stuff like that, we do the tobacco and everything else again.
One of the things that is important for future generations to know about the Kakagon Sloughs and the Manoomin is one, that it's Manoomin. It's the good seed. The other thing is knowing the history behind it, and why it's so important to us, why the place is so important, and how that food has helped us for so many generations. If we had nothing, we would have that rice. If there was nothing else, the rice would help us through. And in that prophecy, though, it said we would be here for a long time, but it didn't say we would be here forever. And that's worrisome, because we've been so reliant on that rice and so reliant on everything here within Mashkiigokaang that sometimes we might take it for granted, or we might forget to make use of everything that was gifted to us here. And a lot say, if you don't make use of what was gifted to you, then the spirit thinks, oh, they don't need it anymore, and then it's gone. So I think that, learning about the Manoomin, learning how to harvest the Manoomin, learning how to process it without mechanical processing, even though that's available to them, I think that's so important for future generations.
What the sloughs represent for us is really Bad River people. When you lose the sloughs, Bad River people are going to struggle with identity.
There's a big difference in the sloughs today than when I was a kid growing up, going down there. There was rice down there. Lots of rice down there when I was small. Back 40, 50 years ago, we used to get a lot of rice, lots of rice, at least over 200 pounds a day. Today, there ain't as much. You notice a lot of things aren't there anymore, like the rice. The muskrats aren't around. The birds aren't around either. My grandma, I went out with her a couple times, and she would say, always look where the birds are, the blackbirds down there. Used to be just swarms of birds flying around there, because she said, follow them. That's where the best rice is. Because you sit down there and you just daydream about how it was back 40 years, 50 years ago, and the rice was just all over the place. And now you sit down there and the water is just, there's nothing. There's no, where rice used to be, there's nothing now. And that's pretty painful to see.
Remembering back when my uncles would go out, they would come in with 200 to 300 pounds of rice. Now if someone comes in with 80 to 90 pounds, that's a good day. When I used to go racing, when I was, say 11, 12 to now, 40 years, I notice a lot of weeds now compared to back then.
The rice isn't in abundance no more the way it used to be. We're not getting our usual take. The wild rice program here, the management program here, we would always buy rice from the ricers. And we only use rice from here in this system to reseed it. You can naturally wait for the rice to come back, but that's a system in itself that has to happen when there's rice in the water. You have one year of rice, 2, and up to 5 years. We started getting that, and last year on the headwaters was the first time that we had seen up in them headwaters that rice came up finally. And bundling in there, which has a higher yield rate of rice, we would take the bundles and run them in the system like this at different places and plots where it's needed, and use that then, and use that rice there to reestablish the rice. Our management zones, we got 13 of them now. We're using GIS to designate actual plots for reseeding or whatever kind of projects we want to do. A lot of ground truthing from our department scientists that go out there, wetland specialists, and different types of people. We have them testing water. We have different sites for that established with EPA, and we got some sites with under the GLRI program out of Department of Interior, and so we got quite a team, natural resource team that's doing them kinds of things out there, and keeping a good handle on what's going on, and so we're using some of the things that they're finding. They just recently done we worked with Northern College looking at water levels, and it looks like when we have the low water levels, that's a good time to go in and do management activities with the invasive plants and stuff like that, either hand pulling them, or we're looking at a different method with a machine that does the cutting of it to open up areas for wild rice habitat. So it's a pretty comprehensive plan that we're going to try and put together and establish with the culture.
And for me personally, because I grew up in Bad River all the time, and the Paula was always associated with rice, and when people start getting in a frenzy like that and they're starting to get their outfits ready, I'm like, oh, wild rice is coming. You can kind of feel it.
The powwow is more of a community involvement where we all come together and we celebrate and we give thanks for the Manoomin. And I think the Mashkiigokaang, the spirits, love that. They love when we come together and we give thanks. I'm a jingle dress dancer, which is a healing dress. So when I dance, I always dance for our people and for the Manoomin.
What the Paula represents is really a celebration and a ceremony that is directly reflective of our harvesting, and again, being thankful for that. The Paula arena is in a circle, and that represents the earth. And when we come in as a people We represent that people, the first person stepping on that earth and being able to experience what the earth is going to give us. Dancing is a part of our culture, is a part of our traditions, and it's a sense of medicine, not necessarily for us, but for everybody else.
I think the most important teaching of Manuman, the wild rice, is the prophecy that we migrated over 500 years ago from the east to here to find the food that grows on water. If you take care of the rice will take care of us. And by that meaning, not over harvesting, not going out when you're not supposed to, always giving your tobacco, giving thanks, sharing with the community, and teaching future generations. And I'm very grateful we were able to teach my grandson this year how to harvest rice. So they say you teach your grandchildren, grandchildren's going to teach their grandchildren, so that our inherent right is always preserved. And that means a lot.